Please rise for the faculty procession.
Welcome to the Chicago Booth Diploma Ceremony of the 534th Convocation of the University of Chicago. We're delighted you could be here to celebrate with the achievements of the men and women who will be graduating today. Please be seated.
Good afternoon. I'm delighted to welcome each of you to this recognition of scholarship and celebration of personal achievement. Class of 2021, today is your day. Thank you. It's a day for celebrating accomplishment, of course, but it's also a day to show appreciation, to reaffirm aspirations, and to reflect on the school and its unique community that embodies its values. The personal achievement of our students is predicated not only on their hard work, but also on the support of their classmates, families, friends, and colleagues. To all of you who are here today, and to all those who could not be here, I thank you for the sacrifices you have made to support these students. I'd like to add my thanks to the Deputy Deans, faculty and staff for teaching and supporting another successful group of Booth graduates. I also would like to thank our faculty speaker, Jean-Pierre Dubé, the Sigmund Edelstone Professor of Marketing, and our guest speaker, Booth alumna Rachel Kohler, Chief Executive Officer and co-owner of NowPow, for being here to share their thoughts and advice. Finally, I'd like to thank our graduating students. You have been exemplary members of the Booth community, both academically and socially. Your hard work during the course of this rigorous journey and your resilience, focus, and social purpose during these challenging times have been truly impressive. Your understanding, your flexibility, your suggestions, and your desire to be of service have been particularly meaningful to me. And I've been inspired by the strength and creative spirit of the Booth community in the face of ambiguity and adversity. Thank you for choosing Booth and for contributing so much to our community. Chicago Booth is as dependent on the participation of its student as it is the scholarship of our faculty. And as Dean, I love to brag about the excellence of both groups. But I think the thing that ultimately sets us apart is our unique community, whose culture is based on a set of values that are seen in every action we take, individually and collectively. At Chicago Booth, we believe that to develop and support outstanding individuals as business leaders, we must instill a firm grasp of fundamental knowledge, as well as the thoughtful analysis skills to apply these concepts in the real world. Thus, our mission is twofold: to produce knowledge with enduring impact and to influence and educate current and future leaders. Booth's greatest asset is our world-class faculty who produce path-breaking ideas with global impact. In the Chicago tradition, this means asking and answering important questions about how the world works so we can understand it better and make better decisions. The development of theories to explain and predict real-world phenomena, the testing of those theories with data, including now big data or using machine-intensive computational methods, as well as the use of these theories to make real-world decisions, is part of what makes Chicago distinctive. Second, we disseminate that knowledge so that it has impact, either by delivering a superior education or by disseminating the knowledge in other ways, such as through books, speaking engagements, school publications, and other channels. Members of our faculty have written some amazing and impactful books in recent years, such as Amir Sufi's House of Dead, Richard Thaler's Nudge, and Nick Apley's Mindwise, to give just a few examples. All of you were admitted to and now graduate from the best business school in the world. Think about that. Think about that. Just getting into Booth, let alone flourishing in the program as you have now done, is a huge achievement. And you're among a very small group that has had this opportunity, not only financially, but also through being involved in many other important ways. Find that this is an immensely rewarding experience. This is not just in terms of financial success and career goals, but also by gaining friends, helping others, and building a community. And the community is broader than Chicago Booth. You're also joining a large and influential UChicago alumni network. For our part, we commit to providing you with a rich set of opportunities to continue the relationship with us, and in so doing, enrich your careers and lives. So let me conclude by congratulating all of you on an amazing accomplishment and wishing you all the best in whatever dreams you pursue, knowing that the Chicago Booth community is here to support you. Thank you.
Now it is my privilege to introduce Professor J.P. Dubé, who will be offering the convocation address this afternoon. Mr. Dubé, the Sigmund E. Edelson Professor of Marketing, is also Director of the Kilt Center for Marketing, a research associate at the National Bureau of Economic Research, and an academic trustee at the Marketing Science Institute. Mr. Dubé's research interests lie at the intersection of industrial organization and quantitative marketing. He has conducted empirical studies in the formation of consumer preferences for branded goods, pricing and price discrimination, advertising, food deserts, and he did tell me it's food deserts and not desserts. Okay, you are listening, thank you. Food deserts and nutrition policy, and the role of misinformation in consumer demand. He won the Teaching Excellence Award for Booth's part-time programs in 2005.
I'm a Canadian, I wasn't brought up for this. And it's also very bright. No, I'm gonna leave the glasses on. I thought I might give it a shot. Folks, let me start off just saying to our class of 2021, congratulations, well done. Folks, we just made it through one of the most challenging years of our lives. And to your families, a profound thanks for all of your support of our students in such adverse conditions. Thank you to all of you. Yeah. I'm gonna be honest, it's a pleasure for me to be able to address all of you here in person, as we celebrate our students' achievement of a graduate degree in business administration, an achievement ever so impressive under these circumstances. Well, for better or for worse, the pandemic, like most crises, forced us all to take a hard, introspective look at the meaning of our careers and our lives. By the way, the same was true for companies. With stay-at-home measures fully in place by late last March, companies worldwide suddenly found themselves exposed to the ultimate social test. What does your company stand for? How is your company making a difference in society? Are your products healthy? Are your ingredients natural and sourced through fair labor and sustainable supply chain? Does your product brand image include values espoused by disadvantaged segments of our communities? And is your competitive strategy ethical and fair? In short, what is the social image of your corporate and product brands? Some companies passed with flying colors. Many companies failed this test miserably. In fairness, it's too soon to judge the long-term implications for corporate and product brands that failed this social test. But I hate to tell you folks, time to face it, we have already entered the era of marketing for good. The lack of qualified leadership may be the largest obstacle to companies today to implementing successful marketing for good. On the bright side, over 80% of CEOs self-report marketing as the key source of growth. Now consider the depressing fact that the chief marketing officer turnover rate has declined, has increased every year this past decade. The CMO tenure is now the shortest in the C-suite. 80% of CEOs do not trust their CMO. In contrast, only 10% do not trust their CFO. Now look, if you'd asked me about this even 2 years ago, I would have gone on a rant about the lack of good training on analytics in marketing and accountability in marketing decision-making and marketing spending. Hey, by the way, I stand by that view. There is a shortage of qualified CMOs who can lead an evidence-based marketing team with scientifically based decision-making. But I would now supplement that view with an equally striking lack of qualified leaders in sustainable marketing. Like it or not, companies need to adapt their goals to include a social mission and a social identity. Marketing needs to be about more than short-term corporate profits. Marketers are already expected to lead the creation of a socially aligned marketing mission and the communication of what the company and its brands stand for. Marketers will also be expected to provide metrics of accountability on this corporate identity. I can see the strained looks on some of your faces already. I'm a well-steeped Chicago School economist, 21 years now, and so yes, I'm fully aware of Milton Friedman's Friedman doctrine of the firm. The social responsibility of business is to increase profits. This statement is frequently misinterpreted. Some conclude that a company's only responsibility is to its shareholders, and ostensibly that a company has no social responsibility. Sorry, folks, in an era where stakeholders value the social corporate identity, social responsibility is becoming synonymous with long-term profitability. Consider the fact that many shareholders do value social impact, as we're observing with the rapid growth of impact investing. And let's not forget, just 2 weeks ago, the surprising shareholder revolt at ExxonMobil. But long-term profitability also means considering all stakeholders, not just shareholders, your customers, your employees, your suppliers, and let's not forget the community. Procter & Gamble's Chief Sustainability Officer recently reminded us that Mother Nature is also a stakeholder as environmental regulation and resource availability constraints impact our supply chains. Expensive commitments to environmentally sustainable products and packaging are in fact long-term commitments to sustainable sourcing of key raw materials. Kraft Heinz is committed to 100% recyclable and or biodegradable packaging by 2025. The recent shareholder activism at Exxon reflected shareholders' concerns about mismanaged supply chain risks and public image in light of climate change. Early adopters of a scalable, sustainable supply chain will have long-term advantage as governments continue to restrict emissions and other environmentally objectionable practices. Okay, enough about shareholders. What about these other stakeholders? What did the data tell us? Well, before the pandemic, Younger consumer generations were already turning away from the traditional brands that I've shown in my own research have dominated our pantries, our garages, and our offices for more than half a century. In my recent study of the US craft beer segment, I found that established national brands have collectively lost 15 percentage points of beer sales share since 2005. And between 2011 and 2015, large consumer brands collectively lost $18 billion in market share to craft manufacturers. Who are they? Who are these craft manufacturers? Smaller brands promising higher quality artisanal standards, sustainable local sourcing, and an appealing social image. The Chief Marketing Officer, or CMO survey, found that during the pandemic, greater acknowledgement of companies' attempts to do good was one of the most frequently observed changes in consumer behavior. Before the pandemic, even in 2019, Edelman's Global Trust Survey, we're talking about consumers worldwide, found the impact of consumer trust on purchase intentions to be on par, on the same level as factors like quality, value, and convenience. In fact, in 2020, 71% of the respondents indicated that brands and companies that put profits ahead of their people would lose their trust forever. Last year, Edelman concluded that most European companies would need to double their efforts to emphasize their purpose just to regain consumer trust after the pandemic. And in Asia-Pacific markets, almost 60% of consumers reported trying a new brand simply because of the way they responded to the pandemic. In sum, a pro-social corporate image is important for consumer demand, and it follows is important for revenues and revenue growth. Let's turn to employees. Over half of the millennial workforce is considering leaving or planning to leave their jobs, and 60% are open to a new job opportunity. Folks, that is a strikingly lower employee loyalty rate than in any other generation. Millennials don't just work for a paycheck. Millennials work for a purpose, and sure, there are lots of purposes they could pursue, but one is the role their company plays in the community and in society. Anecdotally, and now I'm speaking to you folks, recruiters here at Booth tell us that our MBA students literally interview recruiters about their company's priorities and their social responsibility initiatives. And one of our key peer MBA programs found that over 90% of the MBA students would be willing to forego financial benefits to work for a company with a good reputation for corporate social responsibility and ethics. Deloitte found that Americans facing jobs with comparable benefits typically would pick the company that has some sort of support for charities. In sum, pro-social corporate image also bolsters your human resources strategy, the ability to hire top talent in what is increasingly a very competitive labor market. So let's think about what this tells us about our stakeholders. Consumers and employees place a premium on companies and brands that are authentic and engaged to help the world. So what is this authentic marketing for good? What is that? What is authenticity? Well, frankly, most stakeholders simply cannot verify the true social impact of a company's initiatives. That means that authenticity is typically signaled. And it's signaled through the company's actions, not its words. That means that authenticity cannot just be cheap talk, puffed up press releases, unverifiable packaging claims like organic, natural, or promises, empty promises of diversity in the workplace. Let's not forget Starbucks' failed attempt to get all of their baristas to write "race together" on each coffee cup sold. This backfired. Why? Because people looked at this and felt it was tone deaf. It didn't engage with the issues. It didn't cost Starbucks anything. Authenticity is signaled through the publicly visible cost of an action. As one example, consider Dove and their risky makeover of their entire creative portfolio. It included women of all physical shapes and ethnicities, and it eliminated photoshopping. This has been held up as a good example of marketing for good. Now, some of you may point to Nike's unfortunate events in 2018. Their share tumbled following the boycott over its 30th anniversary Just Do It campaign with Colin Kaepernick. That is the cost, folks. It was risky. It was expensive. And for the record, 1 year later, Their sales are booming, and their share was up 8% compared to where they were the day before they launched the campaign. The point I'm trying to make here is that it's expensive to signal an authentic mission. My research has measured the long-term advantages over decades to brands that are first to strike the right chord with consumers, and I genuinely believe that the right social brand image does have long-term value. So marketing for good is already synonymous with the long-term profitability of the modern company and its long-term competitive advantage. It's an investment in the creation of an authentic and credible public image with all the stakeholders. The successful CMO today fosters marketing for good through a nexus of relationships. Some of these are internal: marketing, finance, operations, human resources, but these are also relationships that are external, especially through the public image to all of your stakeholders, not just shareholders. So the heart of marketing leadership in the 21st century is not just about data and analytics, two things that I hold very close to heart in my own teaching, but it's also about the management of public image through this nexus of relationships. Next stop for this modern CMO, the CEO chair. And I can't wait to see all these newly minted Boothies sitting in that CEO chair and making us all proud. Thanks and congratulations to all of you.
At this time, I'd like to introduce the University of Chicago Booth School of Business guest speaker, Rachel Kohler, class of 1989. Ms. Kohler brings over 30 years of business experience spanning investment banking, management consulting, and general management to her role as CEO at NowPow, an innovative technology company that powers up underserved communities by providing people the vital information they need to stay well and live long. She is also a principal of Co-op Ventures LLC, a social impact investment firm that concentrates on elegant technology solutions for those who need them most. Ms. Kohler is on the board of Kohler Co. and Kohler Foundation. She serves as a trustee at the University of Chicago, the University of Chicago Medical Center, and the McLean Center for Clinical Medical Ethics. She serves on the board of LPMC Foundation, a public charity supporting music education programs for youth in underserved areas of Chicago. She is also a member of the board of MAPS-Corps. She holds a BA from Princeton University and an MBA from Chicago Booth. Please welcome Rachel Kohler.
Well, congratulations, graduates. How exciting to celebrate this day in person, in Soldier Field, but with you in particular. As you'll soon discover, I'm a big fan of signing up for Gritty, and you've certainly done that. Obtaining a UChicago Booth degree, juggling work and family commitments during a pandemic, no less. Wow, here's to you. But I suspect many of you embarked on this advanced degree for the security of a more certain future. So what I'll say next may come as a surprise to you. My hope for you right now is that you're as comfortable as you ever will be, and that from here on out, you'll only be less so. Now, coming off a year like this past one, that's probably the last thing you want to hear. I get that. But from here on out, discomfort is the path forward. It's the only path forward, which is why I hope that you'll be forever uncomfortable and uncertain, that your lives will be more like the Big Queasy than the Big Easy. Armed with your UChicago degree, you're going to work on some of the biggest problems of our times. But here's the thing, you aren't going to solve most of them. Rather, you're going to navigate the paradoxes that they contain. Our world is becoming increasingly complex. Most decisions are not an either-or. We're rapidly shifting into an era of both and, where the critical work is to embrace and hold tension. Let me be more concrete. As a parent of 3 kids, I've struggled with the independence safety paradox. There's nothing quite like being on Lakeshore Drive for the first time with your teen behind the wheel. I see parents laughing, yes. We see the same sort of paradoxes in business: quality and speed, part and hold, enterprise and individual, global and local, stability and change, and purpose and profits. I spent 20 years in a 140-year-old private company that was built on the innovation tradition paradox: be a maverick, but never miss your bottom line. And now, building a business in healthcare IT, I face the huge paradox of a country with the most advanced medicines, but with some of the poorest health outcomes. And as a CEO of a women-owned technology company that prides itself on diversity and inclusion, I also navigate the paradoxes that this commitment brings. We've achieved something remarkable: over 40% people of color and over 60% women. Yet this rich diversity makes us realize how little we understand what it takes to achieve true inclusiveness. As I reflect back on my largely uncomfortable career, I came up with 3 pieces of advice that I would have found helpful when I was in your shoes. First, sign up for hard and lonely things. From childhood, I raised my hand when no one else did. And yes, it did make me seem like a weirdo at times. But many good things have followed from this impulse. And it's carried through to my career. I signed up for the junk bond department during my tour in investment banking when most analysts lusted for the more prestigious areas. After Booth, I worked in operations restructuring consulting, which is basically code for cost cutting. I've had a penchant for working in businesses that most see as too high risk. Over time, I found such experiences to be invaluable. Obviously, they make you confident in your own coping skills, but they also demand creativity, and they build your capacity to help others through change. My second piece of advice: be open to pivots. I've had 3 different career chapters before my current one as a social entrepreneur. And I may well have more. Happily, career pivots are becoming the norm, and you and younger generations are breaking the stigma of job hopping, and baby boomers are waking up to it too. And not only is it about changing companies, but it's about changing industries and professions. A pivot offers the opportunity to experience different contexts and different communities, and strengthens agility in learning and relationship building. And of course, it cultivates a lot of humility. And finally, my third piece of advice: don't think of sales as a dirty word. Yes, this may seem trite, but in reality, leaders mostly sell. Unfortunately, I've interviewed many young people who view sales jobs with disdain. I've seen companies go to great lengths to avoid referring to a job as being in sales. And that's really too bad. Sales is a wonderful teacher. It hones your ability to listen to what people value. It sharpens your communication skills, and of course, let's not forget persistence and negotiation. All of these elements are part of balance as you navigate from either or to both and. So how does this carry into my life today? Well, I'm knee-deep in pivot number 4, serving as CEO of NowPow, a for-profit social venture tackling a big problem: that health is not healthcare. To get and stay healthy, we need so many other resources: nutritious food, mental health supports, safe housing, to name just a few. These are known as the social determinants of health, and they're as vital to human well-being as medical care. This reality is what drives my work at NowPow, a play on knowledge is power, as we seek to connect people to health-enhancing resources of their communities. In service to this mission, I've been a salesperson for almost every day in the past 6 years to attract talent, funders, and of course, customers. I'm proud to say that we're now in 15 states, we support 80,000 care professional users, and we've provided over 3 million referrals. We have headline customers that include some of, thank you, I like that. I could take a little more applause for that, thank you. We have headline customers that include some of the biggest names in US healthcare. And here in Chicago, we have 900 organizations on our technology platform. In this startup role, I find that the paradoxes are as rich as ever. To get funding, you need customers. To get customers, you need funding. To get scale, you need to do things that don't scale. Credentializing customers and great talent want to know you're solid, but to get solid, you need credentializing customers and great talent. So yes, I have followed my advice. My life is the big queasy, each and every day, and I'm better for it, a better CEO, a better thinker, a better learner, a better parent, and a better person. But I've learned to lean on my UChicago network, as I hope you do too. It makes my NowPow journey less lonely. I have a devoted husband of nearly 30 years, Mark Hoplamazian, also a Booth grad. A business partner, Dr. Stacy Lindau, a UChicago physician and scientist, and a great advisor, Booth's own Rob Gertner. It's sometimes said that maturity of the mind is the capacity to endure uncertainty. This quote is attributed to English historian and mathematician John Finley, and you won't be surprised to hear it's one of my favorites. For me, Booth was a critical step toward such maturity. Booth matured me and my mind. Booth provided me with enduring confidence in myself and gave me lifelong courage to step off, to step out, and to step up, to hard things, to pivots, and yes, to proudly say, I'm in sales. We face big, complex problems as a country. We need leaders up to the task of navigating paradoxes that will get us to both and outcomes. So, I hope you'll be open to the big queasy, even revel in it. I know it will make a big difference, and so will you. Thank you, and again, congratulations.
As we begin the presentation of the graduates, may I call your attention to the award of honors listed in the convocation program. We also ask that you please respect the graduates. While we understand your desire to vocalize your joyful responses to hearing your graduate's name called, doing so detracts from the announcement of the graduate following. Before the congregation of scholars, family, friends, and colleagues here assembled, the Deputy Deans of the University of Chicago Booth School of Business will now present to the Dean the degree recipients of the Master of Business Administration, Doctor of Philosophy, Doctor of Philosophy in Financial Economics, and Doctor of Philosophy in Psychology and Business in all programs from the University of Chicago Booth School of Business.
Dean Rajan, these students have completed the program of professional studies prescribed by the faculty of the University of Chicago Booth School of Business. The class of 2021 leaves our school stronger for their commitment to the well-being of others and their legacy of innovative programming designed to encourage discourse. We are confident in their ability to go forward and pursue the highest aspirations of their fields. It is with great pleasure and enormous pride that I present these leaders as recipients of the degree of Master of Business Administration.
Zachary Samuel Taylor. Kenya D. Walker.
Wendy Kelly Papacostandini.
Christopher A. Jimenez. Shane Kenneth Feely. Sean Robert Smith. Jeffrey Paul Lefevre. Anne Rose Martin. Alita Bilkis Huck. Jordan Michael Sands. Gerardo Chakinga. John Paul Handel. Matthew Richard Haskey. Jeff Fu. Kate Ma. Matthew Drummy. Helen Way. Christine A. Durbin. Yumiko Igarashi. Mark Donald Weber. Jia Yi Ling. Michael Isaac Steingold. Ganesh Srinivasan. Alex Kogan. Claire Atkins Pedersen. Nikhil Nanda. Mark Schlecker. Shyam Sundar Srinivasan. Matthew Scully Rao. Noah D. Himmel. Paulo Blanc. Daniel J. Berg. Kunal Jain. Lorenzo Andreani. Nida Sharifei. Hannah Holodniak. Sonali Aditya. Mariam Saad Salib. Christopher John Crately. Elliot Thomas Kuklenski. George Stephen. Jose Alexander Restituyo. Otto Hansen. Matthew Clark. Stephanie Marie Sorensen. Jacqueline Carr. Akila Iruku. Erica Lynn Reitz. Alexandra Marie Nelson. Matthew John Lemansky. Nathan Lipsky. Joseph William Horan. Craig James Cheval Jr. Colin O'Donnell Armstrong. Matthew Robert Wicker. Ethan Fant. Tina Jenge. Farley Abraham Zelli. Dominic Go. Patrick Eugene Staunton. Michael James Tokoff. Dale Daniel Goodlow. Adriano Zelazowski Pereira. Omid Razavi. Sai Chakraborty. Michael Vula. Kristen Maria Vula. William Edward Kolbuck. Adam J. Zayed. Chi He. Ajay Ram Sheshachalam. Proshanjit Banerjee. Michael William Alpojanis. Aaron Presley Lau. Nitender Goyal. Scott William Ellis. Gregory Joseph Hart. Danielle Moore Abu Aid. E. Way. Joe O'Connor. Harrison N. Freund. Kalyan Are. Bharat Purander Das. Meenakshi Lakshmanan. Dwip Shah. Anam Haq. Suresh Sekhar. Angad Singh Chopra. Siddharth Malik. Fahim Dar. Andrea Elizabeth Vandenhoek. Allison Shepard Noakes. Neha Ashok. Diana Lee. Genesis Gastelum. Kevin Triple. Ratna Priya Singh. Anita Nandakumar. Christian Conrad Serena. Maxwell Lewis Schaefer. Thomas Cohen. Thomas Adam Soto. Guy Stevens. Anindo Banerjee. Patrick Thomas Weber. Christopher D. Pratt. Jimmy Vanderbosch Zurcher. Rosary Shin. Dip Majumder. Andy Ung. Pritam Pradeep Das. Chong Tao. Lucy Chen. Cassandra Molatoris. Margarita Shapiro. Jay Ko. Tashfeen Islam. Cameron Mackenzie Schultz. Bridget Sanders. Matt Brozovic. William Calderwood. Kevin Alexander Chambers. Eric Michael Weinstein. Matthew Clayton Wolf. Bianca Niazi. Jinran Liu. John Liu. Alejandro Mabasa T. Jungwei Xu. Yuanbo Guo. Zhengguo Chu. Shreyas Pawali. Divya Inaganti. Rohini Reddy Maram. Eric Howe, Yi Zhu, Robert Galliani, John Comfort, C.J. Bachet, Alexander Ernest Storr, Darren Cohen, Robert Kittman Barmeyer, William Frederick Swee, John Patrick Swee, Thomas Michael Sozi, Brandon Michael Rolfes, Joseph Elias Tripolitakis, Simon Alexander Bernick, Robert Francis Niehaus III, Kaushik Basnet, Matt Gibson, Azizunisha Abu, Paige Fries, Kaylee Nicole Neeson, Jasmine Kaja Shells, Catherine Page Skeeth Pincus, Linda Louise Pantel, Emily Carroll, Taylor Barker, Jenna Rose Nizamov, Peter Banas, Michael Kohler, Jeffrey Brian Quinlan, James Beam, Ethan Marine, Dan Bristow, Anthony Greif, Juan Perez, Gaurav Vijay, Dominic Volosio, Prafula Pandurang Bahlekar, Jordan Ross Salins, Stephen Lampert, Joshua Mincer, Joshua Leonson, Thomas Patrick Rafferty, Shu Suzy Yin, Yi Tal, Hannah Clancy Jocelyn Manthry, Vidya Vinudini Balasubramanian, Chris Brown, Brian Minhui Zhu, Renat A. Zalov, Jimena Figueroa, Brendan Christopher Lee, Ryan Kimball Wade, Spencer Wayne Clark Reichmuth, Eric Winters, Roberto Angel Tapia del Valle, Matthew Stasio, Fiona Kennedy, Christopher Ryan Hoover, Usman Zia Khan, Michael Grasso, Austin Tierman, Richard Frank Tolosano Jr., Charles Edward Neal, Brendan Robert Scott, Christian Compton, Catherine Lorraine Ernst, Lauren Ann Levan, Avinash Velanki, Leo Minjuk, Daniel Joseph Hannock, Oladoyin Adewuyi Oladeru, Christian Michael Efkin, Jeremy Sachs, Ross Alexander Larson, Ariel Perlin, Brian Thomas Fosselman, Eddie Min, Michael Dale McMahon, Thomas John Shea Jr., Andrew Tarosian, Megan Nicole DeMelli, Cara Vasquez, Elizabeth Chandler Brailsford Brown, Austin Bostock, Matthew Howard Geisler, Nate Norton, Nikhil AJ Deshpande, Julia Jane, Ting Huang, Alexander Luis San Jose, Alice Elizabeth Fitting, Jacqueline Dorothy Yosias, Morgan Sontag, Erin E. Grace, Mackenzie Marie Kurth, Melanie Ortiz, Lauren Nicole Kidd, Jessica Beth Levenger, Beth Ann Davis, Patricia Della Justina, Alicia Tungari, Hasika Sarafi, Tara Nicole Comstock, Varsha Krishnakumar, Tom Manicherry, Sapta Patnaik, Vinay Kemka, Sanjeet Kalangutkar, Vaidehi Waman Joshi, Ashish Chudani, Julie Schuster, John Moisen, Justine Carlson, Nitin Aswani, Evan Bernard Cummings, Daniel Edward Walsh, Julian Chang, Toru Tokoyoda, Jesse Chen, Xiao Tian Wang, Sophia Wenting Guo, Nancy Paniagua Pelizari, Farhan Ashraf, Gaurav Kumar, Yu Xia Han, Yong Liu, Pratik Agrawal, Michelle Elizabeth Keim, Amy Kathleen Clockingay, David Han Shin, Thomas Patrick McGrath, Ingrid Newell Watts, Katie Clune Van Vliet, Nathan Onchuk, Arun Sanjeev Gokhale, Louis Theodore, Andriy Tenekexi, Christopher Michael Sipos, Daniel Urbina McCarthy, Jason Daniel Foster, Sherry D. Felty, Aniko Johanna Berman, Nicole Versalino Campbell, Fabiana Shell Sanzi, Melissa Erin Schumacher, Kay Boache Yadom, Rory Pavak, Jeffrey Charles Sadek, Kenneth Kwan Hyun Saw, Ranjith Gopalakrishnan, Grace Lynn, Harif Davies, Geeta Pillai, Priyanka Karat, Guhua Shah, Anthony Zhu, Benjamin Michael McKay, Teddy Niedermeyer, James Michael Alseth, Manik Pasricha, Alexander Brian Sayers, Christian Gialmeida Salon Gemello, Jordan Donner, John Jeffries White, Alejandro Rincon, Vadim Sagalchik, Eric Spiegelman, Vijay Vera, Janwei Gu, Brian Andrew Klein, Ludwig Alexis, Kyle Sweeney,
Dean Rajan, the students are now present have attained scholarly distinction in advanced studies and have prepared a dissertation that contributes to knowledge in a particular field of research. On behalf of the faculty of the University of Chicago Booth School of Business, I have the honor to present them as recipients of the degree of Doctor of Philosophy. We welcome them into our community of scholars and look forward to their future contributions to the field.
Elliot Asher Abrams.
Yeah.
Gusharan Singh Bui.
Gusharam is being hooded by Professor Sufi.
Shirsho Biswas.
Shirsho is being hooded by Professor Chintagunta.
Jianfei Zhao.
Janfei is being hooded by Professor Hansen.
Connor James Dowd.
Connor is being hooded by Professor Hansen.
David Andrew Feiner.
David is being hooded by Professor He. Congratulations.
Ali Goli.
Ali is being hooded by Professor Chintagunta.
Samuel David Hirschman.
Samuel is being hooded by Professor Sussman.
Yewan Kim.
Yewon is being hooded by Professor Misra.
Shohini Kundu.
Shohini is being hooded by Professor Kashyap.
Lisa Yao Liu.
Yao is being hooded by Professor Christensen.
Shirley Liu.
Shirley is being hooded by Professor Christensen.
Yao Lu.
Yao is being hooded by Professor Sapra.
Olivia Richardson Natan.
Olivia is being hooded by Professor Dubé.
Kadiyushi Rao.
Karyushi is being hooded by Professor Hasti.
Hee-Kwan So.
Hee-Kwan is being hooded by Professor Siverson.
Ana Maria Tenekejieva.
Ana Maria is being hooded by Professor Sufi. The students I now present have attained scholarly distinction in advanced studies and have prepared a dissertation which contributes to knowledge in a particular field of research. On behalf of the faculty of the University of Chicago Booth School of Business and the faculty of the Division of Social Sciences, I have the honor to present the recipients of the degree of Doctor of Philosophy in Financial Economics.
Jane Lee.
Jane is being tutored by Professor He. Yiran Fan has been awarded a Doctor of Philosophy in Financial Economics posthumously. Professor He will now say a few words in honor of Yiran Fan.
I'm Zhiguo He, a professor of finance at the Chicago Booth. We all, together with the larger University of Chicago community, were shocked on January 9th, 2021, by the tragic, heartbreaking loss of Yiran Fan. He's a fourth-year student in the PhD joint program in financial economics. He's remembered as an incredibly talented student, highly respected by his peers, and beloved by all who knew him. Both Lars Hansen and I saw Yiran as a young, energetic, yet intellectually mature scholar who left promising work on several important topics. We read 3 of Yiran's papers carefully and found 2 of them exceeded the PhD degree requirements. Granting this posthumous PhD degree acknowledged Yiran's maturity as a scholar and allows him to take his place among the joint program graduates. Forming a 4-member committee alongside Veronica Guerri and Daron Ravid, we conducted a formal dissertation defense on behalf of Yiran on March 2nd, 2021. Yiran leaves 3 legacies behind for the U Chicago community. The first is the Yiran Fan Memorial Prize, which commemorates Yiran and his devotion to bring the student, faculty, research community together. I'm happy to announce that the first winner is Simon Oh, a 30-year joint program student. The second is the Yiran Fan Memorial Fund for the joint PhD program in financial economics, funded by numerous donors in the wake of Yiran's death. That will be used for PhD stipend. Third, thanks to the editorial board of Journal of Political Economy, one of Yiran's dissertation chapters will be published in its August issue. There's nothing we can do to save a young and promising life, and we are sure that Yiran has left its mark on the community of finance and economics scholars at the university. Thank you.
The students I now present have attained scholarly distinction in advanced studies and have prepared a dissertation which contributes to knowledge in a particular field of research. On behalf of the faculty of the University of Chicago Booth School of Business and the faculty of the Division of the Social Sciences, I have the honor to present the recipients of the degree of Doctor of Philosophy in Psychology and Business.
Ka Ying Becky Lau.
Ka Ying has been Huda Professor Kaiser.
Anirudh Tuwathia.
Anirudh has been Huda Professor Hesti.
Please rise for our alma mater.
Today we gladly sing the praise of God, whose daughters and whose sons are glory voices proudly raised. Let soaring confidence of all and of this rarest sheep, most rise for all that wise is deep, most true of all that truth say we. Praise our dear
Please be seated.
This now concludes the formal Chicago Booth Diploma and Hooding Ceremony of the 534th Convocation of the University of Chicago. I thank you for attending today's ceremony, and on behalf of the faculty and staff of the university and Chicago Booth, I extend best wishes to all graduates and their family and friends. And now to close, will our newest graduates please rise? Congratulations, you're all now graduates of the University of Chicago Booth School of Business. And because of your achievements that we celebrate today with your family and friends, each of you will always be connected to the University of Chicago, a connection that I hope you and we will foster for many years. Thank you very much.